All right, now for the grand finale. Seeing as we have one of these working in a procedural way, we can just extend this to any number of them to work. So here we go with our one pig head, and we have our one constraint network. So let's just do a bunch of those. So remember for all the way back in the beginning, we instanced a bunch of pig heads to some points on a box? Well, let's do it again. I'm going to say, let's just start with a few of these first. So here's a regular box, 4 points. Let's copy to the box. We're using the box as points. Oopsies. Let's copy the actual packed stuff. So remember, we're not copying the geometry. I mean, you must know this by now, but still say it again. The geometry ID on these guys, it's still the same. It's just being referenced multiple times. So I can take the box, I can make it bigger. Actually, I'll use a transform for this. And sorry, this is getting so messy now. God, this is awful. Let's get this out down here and go this here. So these are what matters. So we can make this go up. We can rotate it. And maybe we'll make it go up some more. And let's kind of have it go off screen a little bit. Good enough. Okay, cool. So let's have those guys fall and we'll see what happens. Copy goes into out. And I can already tell you it'll be interesting, but not quite right. So what's happening? Well, one of them stayed together until it fell, but everybody else fell apart immediately. Still pretty fast as far as sim goes. I mean, it was 3,000 different rigid bodies that it was just pushing there. So what's going on? Well, the problem is the constraint network is confused. We have a whole bunch of things with the same names now that we've done this copy. If we look back at the points here, you know, we have a whole bunch. We basically have one for each point on that cube. So we're going to have 8 copies of each of these things. So the constraint network's like, I don't know what's going on anymore. So what we need to do is rename them. We don't want to have duplicate names in RigBySim. It'll do it, but it's not going to be happy about it. And certainly the constraints won't. So I'm going to say, let's rename them. And same thing as the floats before. You don't actually have to put the S for name. It knows that name is always a string, but I think, why not? So name is going to be equal to, and we're going to use this old C style thing here to do some text replacement stuff. Basically, I'm going to say, call it piece %d. %d will be replaced by the point number. And that's it. So now when we look at the names, the name is whatever the point number was. It's now piece that. So %d is basically decimal. Replace it, and that's what sprintf does. So now they all have their own name, and now we want to have. Also, I should say, even more than the names being the same, we only had one constraint network. In general, we want to have this build all its constraints off of everybody. So it still works, and they're not connected because we kept the search radius down low enough. In fact, we can go even lower probably. There we go. Something like that. So now it's never looking more than 1 unit away. There's fancier ways to do this if we had to, but for now, this is fine. So now everybody's got their own name, everybody has their own constraint network, and now you'll see that they'll all fall, or they'll all stay together now and break on their own accord. So they're all colliding with each other, they're all falling, they're all breaking different ways because they hit the ground in different ways. Isn't that crazy? Let's do like a quick blast of this thing. Okay, so it finished, or I stopped it because I didn't feel like waiting anymore. Didn't even take that long. I mean, this really only took about a minute. It actually took literally a minute. So there you go. So it pushed 3,000 primitives, or 3,000 pieces, really. Lots of cool stuff. I love that this one kind of stayed mostly together over here, and this one's right here in the front. Boom. Looking good. So that was a minute. So, I feel like we could probably really start to take advantage of this. What if I said, what if we move the camera out more and we made this box that they're being instanced to much bigger? So I'm going to say, let's make it 4 times as large. And let's say we will up these divisions to like 4 by 4 by 4. So now you can see it's slowing down, certainly. And we're getting the weird normals thing that I explained in the first part. So this is a prime candidate for not having it display the full geometry. And we have a lot of stuff going on now. We have 47,000 pieces now. Let's do our packed edit and actually have it not look like that. We'll have it do display as, maybe we could do point cloud pretty easily, probably, and that will look more or less like what we want. Still a little slow, but it's fine, and you get a sense of it. I don't know, maybe bounding box. So you can at least see the globs and even almost a sense of where the thing is. I mean, of course, this is not what we'll render. We're going to render the actual geometry at the end. So we just have to have faith that that's going to carry through to the end. In the meantime, I'm going to move this up. There you go. And again, so it's all still true. We still have our constraint networks here. They're not touching each other, which is good. I keep staying in camera craziness mode here, where I'm moving the camera with the thing. So I think it'll be fun to have them kind of fall into our camera's perspective here. So I'm gonna move this up a little bit more, because I do want to render this. Cool. So there you go. I'm gonna save it. And we'll, just to show you, just to see it getting started, obviously it's gonna take a little bit longer now. It's gonna go through. Now you're gonna actually notice the sim starting up, which is something you probably never saw yet. Importing data is it putting together the scene itself, the actual simulation scene. That's a step in Bullet that will take a moment. And actually many rigid body solvers do this. It's setting up the scene, finding initially interpenetrating objects, and then the actual sim after that will go. So again, it's pushing, 50,000 pieces in this simulation. And all we're seeing is a bunch of boxes here, but when we render this, it will look like the correct thing. So to that point, I'm just gonna pause it here for a second.